Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Dialogue to Destiny. Our goal is to engage in discussions that lead to personal and systematic change. These conversations can broach subjects that some may find offensive. It is not the intent of Dialogue to Destiny to in any way offend. Our intent is to encourage open dialogue so that collectively we can all move forward.
Welcome to another episode of Dialogue to Destiny. Today's discussion is going to debate the issue of reparations for descendants of African slaves. We are joined by my brother Duane, who will argue that reparations are not warranted. And I'm going to start off by just reading the dictionary's definition of reparations. And what it says is the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those that have been wronged. So my first question, first off, Duane, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Duane Whitfield. As Dack said, I'm his brother. I'm his older brother. So what you're going to hear from me is a whole different position on reparations. I got about 10 years on my brother, so that means I got about 10 more years of understanding of whether or not we really deserve reparations. My position is that if you didn't earn it, you shouldn't get it. And I want to explain that a little bit more as we go through this.
All right, Steve, do you have anything you want to add before we?
I think we should get right down to the nitty gritty. You know how I work. I'm call and response, kind of my anti-fon speaker. So my first question to you would be, what would make you think that we hadn't earned it?
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get into that response right now. What I'd like to, but I will. I think it's a good response, and I think my discussion around reparations will include an answer for you. I think it really goes back to two basic decisions that, as black people, did we earn reparations, or was it our fathers, our forefathers, our slave brothers from 155 years ago? Did they earn it or did we earn it? So in trying to clarify my position, I want to talk about the lineage. That's really critical, important to me, and all the economics of reparations, both of which are going to be, if reparations are ever going to happen, the Congress, whoever the body is responsible for approving reparations, are going to have to somehow conclude or confirm in a very precise manner who will get reparations. So they're going to have to clarify the lineage. They're also the decision before them will also be the economics. Who will get paid and how much? So let's look at the lineage. We're looking at, I'm thinking 155 years ago when slavery ended during Abraham Lincoln's watch with the abolition. Thank you, Dack. Abolition of slavery. That's 155. That's 2-3 generations ago. I guess if I were to ask Dacry or Steve to my right, who could they point to as their slave brother or sister, they would not be able to tell me that answer. And I think that's prevalent in society today. If you were to go out in town and ask someone, a black American black, make the connection for me that you are the ancestor of a slave, they would not be able to do that probably without the government's help. So why would anybody seek reparations on the backs of individuals that died, 150 years ago approximately? You don't even know, I don't even know how I'm connected to a slave or a slave person, a slave brother, a slave sister. Why would I get in line to receive reparations? So I say that to say this. if we are ever going to receive reparations, if we're ever going to be eligible for reparations, we would first have to prove our ancestry came from, take me for example. I'm a half-breed. My mother's white. My dad is black. Now, by coincidence, they got together and they created me and they created Dackery. My lineage, although I do have lineage from the Negro, from Africa through my dad, but would I actually be a person that should be in line to get reparations? I consider myself a collateral. I'm the result of my dad, black, marrying my mom, who was white. Otherwise, I could have been a white baby, a white man at this point. So why would I be eligible for reparations? And as you look at the makeup of the U.S. society, there's a lot of collateral, what I call collateral black people. Not to say we're any less black than anybody else because of the tone of the color of our skin, but we really weren't in line, being a white baby to receive reparations. Okay, what would you have to say about that, Steve?
We'll just use the number that you threw out there, 155 years. Are there still people that are living in the laps of luxury and living off wealth from 150 years ago, generational wealth, from plantations, from slavery? So if that is the point, that if people have built legacy and heritages and inheritances for this amount of year that is still carried on for 150 years, don't you think my need and my pain is carried on for 150 years? Okay, with that being said, I've been held off in education. Here I am at the time that I am born in 1969, fighting for education that you've been privy to for over 300 years. Okay, that's something that's systemically gone on. Okay, that would be one of the things that would have to be addressed. There's wealth. You know what they call it? They call it old money, right? That old antebellum money, right? Does that still exist? And are people still living in that lap of luxury? And if that is so, why not? Now, I'm fortunate enough that I can follow my family roots back to Alabama, back to Louisville, Louisville as they call it, and Fairfax, Virginia. See, I can follow it all the way back there. Because I can, does that make me any more deserving than someone who doesn't or can't? See, at a point in time when people make it, they need to stand up and speak for those that have been knocked down and silenced. See, you got to think of some of this wealth. And then we ain't talking about the 40 acres and the mule. We're talking about these people that have pulled themselves up by the proverbial bootstraps and have bought land and have worked that land, have turned and tilled that land with their hands, that somebody else seen it was good and profitable and came and moved them off. Now, do you want to leave or do you want to live? Have a choice. And people's lands were taken like that. We have people right now where a gentleman's great-grandfather had absconded somebody's land in that manner. You know what his generous thing was? To seek out the family and said, do you want your family's bones that are buried here? They said, we'd rather have the land and the bones back. Dude's like, get over it. Take the bones or they're getting plowed up and dumped. See, this was from a theft. See, these type of things have gone on. I've taken your 60 acres and have tilled this land for no money at all. Now you have 1,000 acres. I didn't earn 40. And I'm not even saying give me the 40. Give me a chance to till this land, turn it with my hand so I can buy it. And some of that land was bought and stolen back. Every time we try to create a community, they run a freeway through it. try to break a community, they run a railroad station through it and then run the railroad station past you. So there's no convenience and there's no money to be made from you. Every time we try to build community, they take it, crush it, or consume it for themselves. And yet and still, see, this is where we and you might come together. Are there some reparations that need to be had? Yes. Do I necessarily need them? No. I don't think that I would even want my money, anything I got coming, don't put it towards my temporary wealth. Put it toward my generational health. We've been unhealthy too long, playing on a slanted playing field where the goalpost keeps being moved back. And if you're not doing that, in order to keep me in an inferior position or in a lowly position, what's your point?
Well, let me get in a little bit here too. Now I agree with. I guess I considering what both of you guys said. There's parts of your argument that I think, I can see both ways. But as far as I don't necessarily believe that as black people we should be forced to pay fair market value for property. You said, you sell it to me, fair market property in today's world either. That's a promise that was made to us, 40 acres and a mule. And
understand what that means.
No, all they said is that you have to get in there and homestead until the land, take care of the land, and that's fine, because we were given 40, they were given 160. Okay, so my thing is I don't know how anyone can truly argue that with because our ancestry was linked back too. We've had family members that have done the research and linked us to a plantation as well. But my thing is I don't necessarily believe that as black people we owe anything for reparations. The Native Americans didn't have to sacrifice anything to get what they had coming to them.
They sacrificed over 95% of their population.
Okay, but did they voluntarily sacrifice that? It was a mass extermination. See, the thing that my argument is, as black people, we are always asked to sacrifice. We are always asked to, to meet somebody halfway. If they can, if somebody is fighting dogs and they get convicted, charged, go to prison, they owe restitution for that, right? Michael Vick had to pay restitution for his crimes of fighting a dog. You're telling me that 300 years, because we were enslaved from 1619 up through 1865. And then 100 years following that, we were under pretty much an apartheid state as far as I'm concerned. It was almost an apartheid state in this country. And slowly but surely, we are slowly coming out of that. But if South Africa can find a way to do reparations for the black people in that country that they had wronged, and if all these other countries can find it in their hearts to do what was right by those people, America has to do the same thing. We find trillions of dollars to reimburse companies for losses because of this pandemic. It's okay. We don't even bat an eye. Nobody cares. But when it comes to saying, hey, this country's greatest sin was dragging people from their homeland, bringing them here, making their lives miserable for 300 years. We can't find a way to say, hey, it's owed to us. We don't owe anything for it. We don't owe anything. Those white families that like you were saying, that have that generational wealth, that generational 160 acres that they're able to pass from generation to generation, that was given to them, pennies on the dollar. But now what you're saying is, hey, well, we're going to have to pay fair market 2020 costs for our 40 acres, and you can go do that anyway without having government involvement. Yeah. So, but I just want to ask Duane one question before I turn it back over to him. Do you believe that us as a community are in the state that we're in because of lack of personal responsibility or systemic oppression?
I think it's a combination of both. I think as Black Americans, there has been opportunities to be better, better in the sense of income, housing, education. But I think that some of us have not seized that opportunity. Okay, I think systemically, yeah, it's been proven that there's privilege, white privilege out there, and white privilege has been successful as a result of, you mentioned, passing along generationally money from one family to another, or keeping the money in the family. The Rockefellers are good examples. The Kennedys are another. But I want to go back to what Steve said. When he's, I want us to deal with this lineage thing, because I don't think the average typical Black American has the ability or has the knowledge of actually, are they the ancestor of a slave? I just don't think, and that's going to be a huge obstacle. If reparations are ever going to come about, you're going to have to prove your lineage towards a slave, and you're not. I just don't think, and the only way you can do that, and here's the irony of it, is the only way you could do that is probably with the government's help. The same people that you're asking to pay reparations. So if you could prove that you were, the ancestor of a slave, and you've earned it because you're, 155 years, you had Uncle John who was a slave, and he, made the transatlantic crossing, and was used by the slave owners to benefit that slave owner. I just don't think a lot of Black Americans can do that. Okay. The next thing I wanted to ask you guys, both of you, the economics. Who should pay reparations? Should we pay our own reparations? Should my money that I'm paying taxes for go from one hand to another? Should it only be white people that pay reparations? Let's not forget that the United States is a melting pot of a lot of different nationalities, a lot of races. Okay. Back in the 1800s, 1890s, as well as 1960, there was a big movement of immigrants to this country. Are immigrants responsible for paying?
Yes, they are.
And they had no place in slavery.
But they are here reaping the fruits of our ancestors' labor. I mean,
but so are we.
Huh?
So are we.
We are. But that question is not asked of Native Americans. You don't think there's Native Americans in this country that were paying taxes at the time they got reparations? They, of course they were.
The Native Americans, their situation is a little bit different, in the fact that this land was seized from them. Okay, you can go to a Native American tribe, and they can go back 100 years and tell you what part of this country they own or their family owned. It was seized from them. We're talking 155 years ago, 2 generations ago or more. We got an uncle who's 84 years old. His father, who died back in 1972, wasn't even a slave. You'd have to reach way back in order, and I just don't think the average Black American, the average person that looks like me, can tell you or make the connection to a slave.
I think that in today's society, that's something that's pretty easily attainable.
Well, and I think the only thing, and here's what you're going to say, is that you're going to have your genetics looked at. They're going to take a sample of your blood, and you can say, yep, 1/10 of me came from Nigeria. Does that qualify you as an ancestor from a slave? Not all tribes in Africa came over here as slaves.
You're right.
Okay, so which tribe are you part of? And does that tribe qualify you for reparations?
You don't think that our uncle that's 84 might have known his grandparents? And maybe his grandparents might have told him stories about, I mean, what we have to do is see, and I kind of feel like that's what's happening, is we're allowing all of our resources, the elderly people, to die off, so our stories go on the ground with them. And it's valuable that we get the information we need from them. But I can guarantee, I know without a doubt that that we are descendants of African slaves. And I don't know, and I think that if you were to go back and ask any of them, do you believe that our ancestors 150 years from now should reap or benefit from the torment and the labor that you had to endure your whole life?
Okay, you said 150 years again. 150 years. Now, 150 years. Now, you have to understand, you want people to go back and find their lineage and everything from somebody who oppressed them to the point they wouldn't allow them to read, wouldn't allow them to write, took their culture and burned it, threw it away on the boat ride over, was so tormented and locked up in the bottom of a ship for months at a time that some of the best things that they could do for themselves was to jump overboard. And now when somebody has had all the power to impress, to impose and to suppress everything about you from where you came from, to steal your identity, your hope, and your backbone and your pride from you. Now you say that they've done this generationally. Now we got to understand what Jim Crow was and what it was. I will show you how to run your slaves for the next 100 so years, next 200 years, and you will never have to beat them or whoop them again. You know why? Because I'm gonna take this woman's spouse from her and beat him in front of her and her son. See, this is the beginning of how Jim Crow works. Now the mother, you don't have to tell the boy to behave. The mother's going to tell him, boy, shut your mouth. I don't want to lose you or see you get beat like your father did. So now you make the boy mealy mouth. We still hear it to this day. Keep your nose clean, keep your head down, be worried about how you talk to him and all that. Jim Crow's still going on and we don't even understand it. And we're going to have to break that cycle. That's what I'm talking about, being generationally healthy. We have been generationally unhealthy for the things that have been done to us over and over and over again. A stealing of the culture, not knowing from you where you're from. Not because they were incapable of doing it, because they didn't want us to have anything to identify other than who they were trying to turn us into and to make us to be. Now understand the 3/5 human thing, man. 3/5, right? That meant the average slave owner, let's say if he had 100 slaves, he could count 60 of them slaves as human. The other 40 slaves were chattel. Do you know why? And it's the reason why is for something that still hasn't changed to this day. So the South could gather more electoral votes on a system that oppresses you, did not allow you to vote, did not give you any civil rights, but yet and still they wanted to use you as a number to continue to control you in a process that they make hard for us to participate in. You got people that are in conflict now, man, because folks have jumped up and went out and voted in masse like they've never done before. You know what I'm saying? And this is making a thing that we see, that a division in communities, in society. We are Americans that are human beings. Leastly, we are black or white.
Well, Steve, I can appreciate all that narration. But you still haven't answered the question: who exactly would be the recipients of reparations?
Government.
Not the black people, but government. Who would be who would receive the checks? Is what I'm asking.
I thought you said who would write the checks.
No. Who would be the recipients of the money?
And this is the same question I posed to Dack. Not everybody over here that looks like me actually went through what I went through.
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
And I agree, to those that can prove their lineage, and I can.
So you're probably one out of 25.
There's more than that. There's way more than that. Because you know what? You can't say, I bet it's less than 1 in 25 that were free black men. And I can only name one off the top of my head.
The problem with that, Steve, the problem with that is, in order for you to qualify for reparations, according to the government's criteria, you're going to have to prove it. And I don't think 1 out of 25 black Americans can prove it. I just don't think they can. I don't think black Americans today are that concerned about reparations. One way I'll prove that is if you read President Obama's opinion on reparations, his response went something like this. It would be interesting to see Congress consider that, but I don't feel, as the president, that the Congress would give that much interest towards speaking of reparations. Now, we're talking about Obama, the president. If you can't get someone like that and that much authority, that much influence to support reparations, it's a dying idea. It's not going to fly. Okay.
Not only him, but also Hillary. But they denied that. But as you go down the line, you got Cory Booker, you got Bernie Sanders, you got the young lady that Warren, you got Julian Castro. You've got a lot of people that have out there that supported that support the idea. If nothing else, the conversation on H.R. 40 is a mandatory and necessary conversation to have. Definitely. Now, Japanese came over here.
As fast as it came out.
It's still on the table.
Well, they never vote on it.
It's still on the table. Like I said, it's a necessary conversation that needs to be had. See, the conversation is something that takes place before we get to the vote. So it's a necessary conversation. Like we're having now, it's still a necessary conversation that needs to be had. It begs for the attention on all parties. Now, most people, I'll disagree with you because over 61% of Americans, no color, 61% of this United States believes that it's something that should be done. It's a bad political move for either.
I'm not sure 61% represents the support. I think maybe 61% would be willing to have that conversation, but my research shows that there's way less than 61% of if you're talking. Remember, Black Americans only represent about 14% of the United States,
which makes it the 61 a very impressive number.
Well, the immigrants are about 14% as well. So I'm not sure you can get 61% of either Black Americans, immigrants, and then the rest being white folks to agree for support for reparations.
Well, let me go back to what you said about Obama. See, by everything that we've said here, Obama wouldn't be eligible for reparations because his dad was born in Africa. So his family didn't serve as slaves in this country. So he's not. So it's for him. It's not an issue that directly affects him. And to be honest with you, when Obama had to tread on thin ice his whole 8 years as president, he knew that addressing anything that would deal with direct payments to Africans or anything that had to do with race, it was going to blow up in his face. See, and that's why I believe that this conversation is going to have to be started by someone other than a black person. It's going to have to be started by a Joe Biden or a Bernie Sanders or somebody because what happens is when people hear us talking about it, they have this mindset that, hey, we're looking at as something that we have to gain from. And I don't know what form reparations comes in. I don't necessarily think that everything has to be in a cash payment. But I believe that the reason why, I don't see our situation in this country as being where it's at because of our own behaviors necessarily. Yeah, you have a small fraction of people in every group, in every race that are deviants. They're criminals. They are the ones. Behavior. That's right. They are the ones that are out here creating. But most African Americans in this country are hardworking, honest people that want to realize the American dream. But most of us come from families where our parents were, as children, had to drop out of school in 5th, 6th, 4th grade to help on the plantation because their parents were sharecroppers. So the fact that we are because I can guarantee you most families that come from Mississippi, Louisiana, where our family comes from, all of them deep southern states, their parent, I'd be surprised if your grandparents have more than an 8th grade education. And the reason that is because, like I said, systematically we have just been generationally pushed into this line of poverty. And I think that it's the responsibility of this government that put us there to help us get out. I don't think that it's anything that we owe. I don't think that, and I do believe the burden of proof is on the individual. If you want to be in line to receive reparations, but it wouldn't be hard at all for people, for them to create organizations in each state in this country.
Well, Steve just said, 10 minutes ago, they threw away all the records. That's going to be a problem. If all the records are missing.
They suppress your records.
Oh, I thought I thought you said
hide your information.
Yeah.
No, but even if that's the case,
any history with you, your heritage.
even if that's the case, like I said, I mean, you talk like 150 years ago. There's buildings in Minneapolis that's 150 years old. Mm-hmm. You know, you talk like that's so far back. I mean, our mother, is halfway to that level. It's a good chance that like our dad, his great grandfather was a slave, or maybe even his grandfather was a slave. So for us to make it seem like this is, so far in history that it shouldn't even be considered, to me, is crazy. I mean, slavery directly impacts where we are as a people in this country today.
I agree, it does impact to a certain point, but there has been civil rights laws that have been put in place since 1964, and even beyond that, even before that. People, we have not seized the opportunity of education and income and retirement and things like that. People right now, your brothers and sisters right now, you have cousins that are living at the poverty. You keep bringing up this poverty line. They're living they have put everything on their life on the poverty line. And they refuse to move off the poverty line. And they're breeding more children. They're bringing more children into society with that same mindset. So we have to, one thing that's lacking in this conversation is accountability. We have to take some accountability for our end result, our outcome. Now, I've been...
The government has some accountability too, though.
And maybe they do. But okay, back to the question: who exactly should get the money, and then how much should they get? Who should pay for it? Should my white mother pay my black father? Is that the way it works? I mean, that has come up. Who exactly gets the money?
Well, one thing about taxes is we all pay into something that we don't necessarily agree with. I don't think that 20% of the United States budget should go toward the Pentagon. I don't believe that 20% of the budget of the money that goes into the United States federal government should be going straight to the military. China hasn't had a war in 50 years. And why do you think they're kicking our butt in their economy? But we in America...
Well, I know the answer why they're kicking our butts, because they work harder at it. They're smarter.
Maybe they're not spending all their money on warheads that we just destroy in the middle of the ocean to show people what we have.
That might be it too.
If we have money for warheads, we have money to put knowledge and I don't know how like I said, the form of reparations is up for debate. I believe that anybody that is a descendant of us, they should definitely be able to get educated for free. Because back, 150 years ago, we got beaten just for opening a book. So the fact that, we should definitely be educated, because education will build that generational wealth and health that Steve is talking about. Mm-hmm. So we definitely have to have that. But when you're sitting there and you're talking about who should get this payout, man. Like I said, I don't think anybody's going to dispute that you should have to prove that you're a descendant of an American slave. But they can put together panels, they can put together organizations that can help you do the necessary research to get that information.
Mm-hmm. Being a descendant of an American slave is an important thing. But what about the Africans that were selling slaves? They were in business making money off of selling slaves too. But and I'm going to give you a chance to talk about that. But it's not clear It's not clear in the lineage who exactly is the recipient. Am I speaking loud enough? Okay. And it's not clear who should pay. Here's my position on why it's a bad idea. And I'll go through, I got 4 or 5 things I want to say real quick, and then I'll turn the mic over. The mindset of Americans today, black Americans today, is different from those slaves back then. Slaves back then were more homogenous. Right now, it's all for self. You know that. We're more self-centered than they were back there. They were all about family, taking care of the family. They had to be, okay? Think about all the progress that's been made with the Civil Rights Act. I know you guys don't agree that the Civil Rights Act plays a part in this, but it does. The reason why Civil Rights Acts came about is because people were mistreated, people didn't have the same opportunities, okay? But now they have the same opportunities, okay? There are privileged white folks, they got stuff handed down to them, but I don't have the same sense of entitlement that Steve has. I believe I got to go out there and earn everything that I got, that I'm going to receive. That sense of entitlement we need to get out of that mindset. That's an awful mindset. I didn't bring my children up that way, to feel like they're entitled to stuff. You're not entitled to nothing. You get out there and work. What would reparations prove? What would be accomplished? So what? You get $20,000. What you going to do with it? I'm going to tell you what we're going to do over here on the north side. We're going to the liquor store. That's what we're going to do on the north side. We're going to the liquor store, okay? Or we're going to buy a Cadillac or a Lincoln. I'm not trying to downplay, but this is what's going to happen. What did we do with the little check we got from the government, the little $1,200 check we got? Okay? Look at that as an example. What's going to be proved by reparations? I think you're just opening up a wound. You're taking a rake over a wound that's healed for 155 years. Obviously, it's still in you guys' mind that, we're owed something, okay? So if I got my 20,000, should you get more than 20,000 because you're a little darker than me? Should I get equal when only half of my parents is black? I mean, those are decisions that have to be made, okay? Or should we all get the same amount? Back to economics.
Was that your 5?
And then one more. I don't believe that you can put together 500 black men and women across different wage earning levels and come up with half of them saying that they would take reparations. I bet you couldn't find out of the 500 half of them that would agree that reparations is necessary and that it would accomplish something.
First thing I'd like to address, I don't know where you got entitlement from, where I felt I was entitlement, because I just share a story I shared before. Always worked off and on since the age of 8 in my father's dry cleaner. Entitlement, I did say I didn't want anything that I had coming. I wanted to put towards a healthy future for the people in the community. So I think that erases the entitlement thing. So, I mean, I don't know how you read that in there, but I'm gonna take care of that one for you. What else did you say on there? 500 black people in the room that don't think that they haven't been kicked around, kicked down.
No, I'm not saying they.
Oh, but you said if you
support reparations.
That would, and that's what I'm saying. You don't think that people that have been treated like that would not? Do you think that 500 people in there? And they wouldn't. I think sometimes
I said you wouldn't get half of them.
I bet more. I bet you'd get well more than half of them on there. I mean, I think you're just making up things to support a not very good argument. You know what I mean? I don't know where light or dark comes into it about the money thing, but I'm gonna tell you like this here. Like I seen my biracial uncle when he was out there. You know, my uncle Jimmy, man, he was biracial. See, when he went out in society, they didn't treat him half white. They screwed him over all black. Okay? See that there, let them know, should give you a better insight than me of where this thing is at. They can't even half accept you. They wholly hate you. Okay? Now you have gone back to where they stripped, raped, denied you education, denied you access to your history, your culture, the white,
Not you, not me, and not
the white
Nobody in this
plantation.
room struggled
Okay,
through that.
okay, I'll put it like this here. You still struggling through it. You're struggling through it right now, even with the idealism that you have, that you don't think that something was taken away from you that would have come through your oral history. That if you don't think that you have not lost something because of the way that they treated your ancestor, man, you and I need to sit down, take a long walk backwards, and walk forward real slowly together, bro. If you think, for one, honestly, in your heart of hearts, think that you ain't missing something from your past, God help you.
All right, let me get a few minutes in here. Okay, now, like Duane was talking about how reparations isn't really, nobody cares and about it. Everybody that
nobody cares.
No, but you were most black. You said most black people, most black people don't really even think about it.
Half.
Okay, even half. Everybody that I've seen that I've watched or listened to talk about what they consider to be the black agenda when it comes to promoting politicians, every one of them talks about reparations as being part of the black agenda. So, okay, so that's one thing that and then when it comes to this entitlement thing, I don't understand how hundreds of years, centuries of free labor doesn't entitle you. And I understand you're saying that, hey, I didn't do the free labor, but the fact that my ancestors had to do that free labor put me at a disadvantage here in 2020. A person, I feel like I have experienced a level of success in this country, but my road to that success has been just full of obstacles, full of hills, and at the end of the day, it didn't matter how high you get on the ladder of success. You will still be looked at as what you are. So we can keep arguing that, and then another thing is, people have this thing, like you're sitting there talking about how if we were given this money, this reparations, that have most of us, a lot of us would just go.
The north side.
Well, every city has a north side. Every city has a north side that is a lot worse than our north side. But that you'd have all these people running to the liquor stores, buying cattle. The way I look at it, Duane, even if you're going to have that, but you had that with the Native Americans. You had that with every group that was It is not the.
I guarantee you, the Japanese who were interned did not take their $20,000 reparations and go buy to the liquor store. I guarantee you.
Well,
that.
you don't know that. They might have bought something else.
Isn't it alcohol?
No. The thing is, Duane, do you think I would take $20,000? Now, I might do other stuff that might, with my money. But do you think I'm gonna go drink?
Go fishing too much?
I might. But what I'm trying to say is once you pay the bill, it's not for you to determine how that money is spent. It's not for you to that's a moot point.
Okay, I agree with that. And then I just want to ask. I want to bring this question back up because I think this is critical to this conversation. What exactly is accomplished with reparations?
I can tell you what's accomplished.
What's it, and why? Do you think the slave? Because I think it's all about mindset. The mindset of the slaves and our mindset are different, way different. The money, if you were handed $20,000, would you do the same thing with that money as the slaves would do? No, because the economics are different. We don't have to spend money on buying food and all that. We buy food, but majority of our food is not going in the house. It's for buying other things.
What difference does it make what people do with the money?
I think that's part of the process, part of the decision. People want to know. When they gave us those $1,200 checks, they said that we were going to feed the economy with that money.
And we did.
Yeah, and we did. Okay? So that's always going to be a question with Congress. They're always going to ask, if we approve this bill, Reparations HR 40, if we approve that, and we give every black American $20,000, I wonder how they're going to spend that. There needs to be a plan for the spending of the money, and not take it to the nearest liquor store.
Okay, but if put it this way, if they gave us reparations like Justin had just shown here, why can't they improve the infrastructure in our community? Why can't they build better schools? See, because maybe 95% of those people would just go spend the money, trick the money off, and it would be gone from their hands forever. But what if we create 5 doctors, 5 lawyers that would not have had that opportunity if there was not reparations? What if that money creates 5 families that are able to build generational wealth?
They're being created right now. We got more black doctors and nurses than ever before.
But how many?
It's because of civil rights, though. Not necessarily because of reparations.
Well, no, but it's also when you talk about, you're right. There are a lot more black people going to college.
His wife is a doctor. My daughter's a doctor, not a doctor, a
nurse.
My daughter's a nurse. I mean,
because she's a doctor, I want to know where that money's at.
We're not seizing the opportunity.
But imagine
what will it prove? What will it prove?
Well, okay, what did it prove when they were in internment camps? And I believe they got 40,000. What did it prove for them? And you're not going, and you're going to assume as much right with that black dollar as much as you're going to assume rights being done with that Japanese dollar or that Jewish dollar. You ain't gonna keep painting us dark and painting somebody else in light. We're just talking about the money, okay? Yeah, you gave this money to an angel and you gave this money to a demon. We're gonna stop that one right now. Okay? Oh, now let me finish now. Well, yeah, that's what it sounds like, it, man. And I'm sure it's how it's coming off, man. Because the first thing we're gonna do is run to the liquor store. I guarantee the Japanese didn't do that. They did angelic and benevolent work. You know, see, we know people got, downtrodden folks that do nefarious stuff in all races. Mm-hmm. Now, what did it prove? When they gave, for the year, if even, that the money that they gave to the Japanese?
Part of that question is what was accomplished too. What was accomplished? The Japanese went and they took the money towards.
They've got nice communities.
And they open up their businesses.
Okay, let me finish this here. Okay, nobody worried about how the Jewish people spent their money after that and still receive money from the reparations that they got. Not only did they get lump sums, but they got some annuals.
Steve, that's just a question. That's just a question.
And I'm running it down where I'm thinking about this question that's multifaceted. See, it's a question and a conversation to be had because you don't come in from one side. You got to press in on this thing on all sides. Okay. It's something that's oozing out on all sides. See, when we're keep saying that there has not been a wrong done to us, that has manifested itself in such a way that it is negatively impacting families and communities to this day, I'm wondering, when people don't see this, I see them as people that have the ostrich mentality. They're keeping their head stuck in the sand and their asses exposed to the next problem that's coming around.
Mm-hmm. What has happened when we did come together as a community and build like Black Wall Street? What did they do?
Burn it down, run a free throw through, run a free way through
what
it.
It is you're saying.
Every time that we've built community, they've either came and taken it, or they've destroyed it with eminent domain by running a highway through it, Rondo. You look at Buxton, Iowa, railroad. You look at some of these other, Seneca, New York, or Seneca Village, New York, Central Park. See, every time that there's been a black community, man, they take it. Anytime there's some promise, like they might be getting some traction, they take it away by whether it be the government or the townspeople running you off, like the story I shared in the beginning. See, we deserve something. I'm glad I've got to where I'm
back to that entitlement. We deserve. Okay, what is it we deserve?
We deserve something.
How much?
Okay, do you know what?
The conversation.
Do you know what? Do you know what the I can't remember what this Social Something Institute. Do you know what the price tag that they put on slavery as far as wages, number of people, hours worked? Do you know what the figure is? The figure is between $6 trillion and $14 trillion. So there is a dollar amount worked out. So they do have in their mind mindset. What was taken and not paid for,
I
and
read
what
that.
they flourished off. So why do you keep saying what? You have the answer. You didn't think I did.
I didn't think. I don't have anything against your argument, Steve. It's just that you still haven't answered who should get it.
I told you.
And
myself, I'm gonna tell you this one more time.
Should you get it?
I'm gonna tell you.
Should you get reparations?
I'm gonna tell you one more time. In spite of them all, in spite of who's pressed down on me, I've been around a family and around men that I've rose in spite of it. But my community suffers, and my community needs that money. More importantly, for the generational health for the black community and those on the periphery, because everybody who's in the black community ain't black.
That's right. And those don't deserve the reparations.
All right. Well, do you guys have anything you want to just go ahead and close out with? Or?
Well, I'll just say that there was only three things I wanted to, my position was based on lineage and economics. And then I think it's a bad idea for reparations because the bottom line, reparations, you're going to scratch over an old wound. I think we're going to be looked upon. I mean, so you got your, I can imagine people, and who cares really what people say and think, really. But I think the bottom line is, did you get your reparations check today? Or are you, I mean, come on. I've had the same opportunities for, compared to white people, any other race here in the United States. I've done okay. I'm proud of where I am in life. And my friends, they're proud of where they are. We don't talk. I got one friend that talks about reparations. The other ones, they just say they can keep it. And that's what I'm thinking, the same thing. The $20,000, $40,000, whatever it comes, just keep it. Because it really ain't going to make a difference in my life. And I don't think, it might make a difference in Steve's life, Dackery's life, but it ain't going to make a difference. Would I turn it down? No. I'm not a fool.
What's his argument?
But my argument is this. I'm not asking for it. I'm not sitting around begging for it. I'm not sitting around feeling entitled to it. Okay, just because my ancestors were, they came through at a time, slaves came through at a time, it was a bad time in the world. Thank God I didn't come through that time. Okay, I came down, they paid the price for me to have better opportunities, and I'm taking advantage of those opportunities. And that's what I recommend for anyone that watches this video. Take advantage of the opportunities out there, because they're there. Don't sit around and have this mentality or attitude, woe is me. My ancestors were mistreated. I'm entitled to reparations.
No. Go ahead, Steve. You want to add something?
It kind of bothers me, man, to hear you talk about reparations. But if the check's cut, I want mine. I mean, that's almost like Clarence Thomas. This is almost like Clarence Thomas that takes his sheepskin, man, that he earned in college, and he keeps it in a box in the basement because he doesn't appreciate it because he got it through affirmative action. And if you're going to have that type of mindset and you want to show yourself as being high in integrity, take the robe off, hang it up, step down off the bench and go into private practice. Because now you want to sit on the Supreme Court, a tenured job that you just stayed there as long as you want until your mind and body can't take it anymore. But you won't show the sheepskin, but the affirmative action put you behind up on that bench. Would be no need for affirmative action if you treated me like every other American. Now let's understand the reparations. What would they do? Well, reparations for Israel and after the Holocaust built 15% of their electrical structure, over half of their railroad system, and created over 45,000 jobs. You don't think we deserve that? Now, I'm not saying we need an electrical system. I'm not saying we need a railroad, but we could build the infrastructure with that same amount of money that was given for those things within the community. And who in the world would say we don't need 45,000 jobs? And that was then. Who knows what that's extrapolated into nowadays? You still see no need?
All right. So, one thing, I mean, before I close it out, one thing that I'm hearing, like, you know, my brother keeps saying that, well, he doesn't need the money. You know, he's in a good position in life. He's earned everything. You know, see, and I guess I tend to take a more community approach to things. See, because I would hate to be in an environment where I'm a rich man and everybody around me is poor. You know, I look at it as a community thing. Now, there are black doctors, black lawyers, black nurses, black engineers out there. That is correct. But for everyone that we see attending college today, there's probably 10. Because now they've tied it so that, hey, your parents have to have the credit to get you a student loan now. Your parents have to do this. So what I'm saying is there are a lot of people that are being left behind that could be contributing to society and to the black community if they were given an opportunity. You know, and I just think that that we have to start, until we actually see the benefit in it for ourselves. We can't convince other people that there's a benefit in it. So, you know, other groups of people, that for some reason they know how to get in line. But for some reason, I think our community has so much self-hate and divisiveness, and I believe that that's even a remnant of slavery and Jim Crow. You know, they've taught us to not work in unison, to look down on somebody that may not be as fortunate as you are in life. So, I don't know. I mean, you have something you want to add to that, Steve?
I wanted to add, because he had said earlier about even back in slavery there was more unity, and I'm glad that you brought it up because I forgot it. I'm sure there was a lot of unity between the brother in the house and the brother in the field, because the brother in the house usually kept his foot on the back of the brother in the field. I need this warm place to stay, and I can't stay in here unless I keep you out.
But when you're living in such a hostile environment, you have to learn to rely more on each other too. So that's another factor. But go, you know, just to wrap things up, we want to thank everybody that once again took their time to check out our podcast. You know, we don't take your time for granted. We appreciate you taking your time to listen to us rant on different topics. Once again, if you're watching this video, like us on YouTube and other platforms. Subscribe to the channel, and I guess unless you guys have anything else you want to add, we're going to go ahead and just wrap this podcast up. Thanks again for watching.
Peace.